Hello everyone and happy Wednesday. Wellness to you. You're watching another video here at Dr. George A. Holistic Health and Healing. And my name is Kai, and you'll also hear later on from Ayn and of course Dr. George Ceremuga, and we call our team the Team Love God. So here at Dr. George A. Holistic Health and Healing, we lead with love as the power of love is God. And our vision is to build a healthy, vibrant, and resilient nation. And of course, our mission is to empower ourselves with optimal health of our mind, body, and spirit through the Creator model of healthcare, 5 pillars of wellness. And to know more about our Creator model of healthcare curriculum, please do visit our website, drgeorgia.com. And our values are humility, love, and forgiveness. All right, so I hope that you're able to see our video last week, which is the first part of Dr. George's trip to Alaska. And we entitled it Alaska, the Last Frontier. We're doing the last leg of our topic. So, as always, we do our scripture reading at the start of our video, and then we follow it with our icebreaker, and then our topic discussion. And before we proceed, let me just share a quote from Oglala Lakota Holy Man. He says, "Every step you take should be a prayer. And if every step you take is a prayer, then you'll always be walking in a sacred manner." So now let me please introduce Dr. George A. Ceremuga, an osteopathic family physician, an ambassador for Christ, and an active veteran.
All right, wonderful Wellness Wednesday, folks. You know, in part one of our Alaska trip, remember Alaska means the great land, and it's an Athabascan word, an Alaska Native word. Beautiful, huge country, and we're up there to execute God's anointed plan to bring the Indigenous and Veterans College of Osteopathic Medicine to the great state. And you know, we always put God first. That's why we pray, and then we give God all the glory. And so that was part of our objectives up there, is to build this beautiful energy with the Creator model of healthcare with this medical school. And it was well received. And so we're just going to continue that wellness journey and continue that good energy, because God has anointed this to come to the great state of Alaska. And so we're going to roll up our sleeves. Remember, God's in control, but we can't dig a hole in and on the shovel. So we're going to dig the hole to glorify God. And so, yes, out of Psalms 23, He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He is presence. His presence is peace for me, right? Talk to Jesus, my guiding light. So how wonderful is that? And you know, Grandpa's talking to grandson about the meaning of life. He says to get to know the Lord Jesus Christ. And I tell you, that is the answer. And it's never too late. And that's all part of our journey, folks. You know, right? Putting God first, finding pure peace in the presence, leading with love, empowered to live fully alive, and giving God all the credit. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a bit as well to reinforce that, but it works. Let's keep things simple. God never intended medicine to be complicated or messy. So Ayn's going to lead us through the icebreaker as well as the positive affirmations. Take her away, Ayn.
Thank you, Dr. George. Hello, everyone. Today's icebreaker question is, what's your favorite thing about the place where you live?
All right, thank you for that, Ayn. And actually, yesterday we celebrated our first monthsary, the first month that we've been staying here in our new place. And my favorite thing is really, especially when it's not cloudy, I do get a free and effortless access to vitamin D in my dining area. So the sunset actually, or the rays of the sunset is facing directly to my dining area, and so I just enjoy the vitamin D while doing my morning devotion, and I'm really grateful for that. And also, lately I've been discovering that where I live, it's actually around like 10 to 11 minutes away by foot, from the market, from the nearest mall, the grocery. So I'm really liking it. I enjoyed walking since I felt like it's lesser polluted here in this area. So those are my favorite things where I live. How about you guys?
You know, God's blessed you, Kai, and we're so happy for you. We enjoyed that video showing your new place, and yes,
Yes.
all the windows, and so I can picture where that sun was coming in, and so we're very happy for you. We're very proud of you, and yes, you know, you're in a better place, and you can walk to everything, and really, it's you know, we give God all the praise and the glory for that. So. Happy for you. And living in South Dakota, where we live, the four seasons, we get the full spectrum of weather, and I enjoy that. You know, sometimes the winters can be a little long and things like that, but you know, for the most part, just the change in weathers, the beautiful seasons is a blessing. How about you, Ein?
Well, thanks for sharing that. You're right, Dr. George. The seasons are a blessing in itself. And Kai, I'm happy for you for that
Hmm.
beautiful, cozy. And like you, I also enjoy uh I also enjoy the fact that the wet market here, the church, and some of the malls are walking distance from our place. And what I like about our place is it's bigger. It's
Hmm.
a bigger area, so I get to walk around. And if I don't have exercise, at least I walk around and get that 3,000 steps a day.
Good, good.
All right, so now let's move on to our gratitude affirmations. Let me guide you all through positive I am statements. If you can take a breathe, so breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and you can close your eyes and repeat after me. So, believe as I say this and as you say this, please believe in your body, in your mind, and in your heart. So, I am so happy and grateful for the life I have. I am so grateful for this loving, beautiful, healthy body I have that continues to get stronger every day. I am beyond blessed that I woke up today. Many did not have this privilege. I am so grateful for the work I do now, for many are jobless. I am so thankful that God is working for my greater good. I am so grateful for all the people that I have in my life. Thank you for giving me another chance to make my life better today. All right. So,
That
with that, we go back, we move to Dr. George.
well, thank you, Ein. You know, that was so relaxing. You know, that not only was that a good way to start off with that affirmations and the gratitude, but it was a great centering and grounding exercises, incorporating some of the breathing that you incorporated with this. So thank you for that. And so let's go to the active duty veteran salute. Veterans are the light at the tip of the candle, illuminating the way for the whole nation. If veterans can achieve awareness, transformation, understanding, and peace, they can teach us how to make peace with ourselves and each other so we never have to use violence to resolve conflicts. Again, that's the Buddhist monk, Thich Nhat Hanh. Now, I shared this with Kai and I before this video that I had the privilege of seeing a veteran, an Army veteran, today in the clinic. You know, God's signals of grace, they always are there when we're looking for them. Or, even if we're not looking for them, okay, they come to us. And he recently had a neck surgery, and he's had some health issues. And when he was in the recovery room, he said his heart stopped 3 separate times. I guess the first time he said he was resuscitated, he came up mad. The second time, he kept up swinging. The third time, he came up cussing. And the anesthesiologist said, "Why are you cussing?" And he pointed up to heaven and said, "He won't let me in." And what this beautiful man shared was each time he saw St. Peter at the gate. He saw his mother, has died, and his wife and friends that he assumed were in heaven. They were there. He said it was beautiful. There are pearly gates. And each time that he went up, he heard this booming voice. "It's not your time. Go back." And so what an inspiration for me to be a witness to God's signal of grace. And he said, heaven is beautiful. And it says it's not to be feared. And so that we want to share with all of you folks, because you know we're all on that journey together. We can't walk it for you, but we can walk it with you. And so we're all locked arm in arm because we want to witness what this man witnessed ultimately when we go to heaven. So wanted to share that with you. It always picks up our spirits to share beautiful ministries, signals of grace with one another. And so we talked about this earlier, but it's always worth repeating. Everything we do is to put God first. Imagine how the world would change if we don't care who gets the credit and just give it to God, give him the glory. We always want to lead with love, creating a culture of kindness. Kindness matters. Be that eye in kindness. Find pure peace in the presence of Jesus. Talk to Jesus, my guiding light. Find that peace in his presence. And to be empowered to live fully alive, mind, body, and spirit, through the creator model of healthcare, 5 pillars of wellness. We got to own our health, folks. Self-care and action. And always we give the Lord all the glory. Because why? Guiding principle, number 1, he is the great physician. God created man in his image. In the divine image, he created him, male and female. He created him. This is out of Genesis. Prayer is the best medicine. And over, the success stories with prayer. Only Jesus can change people's hearts. Truly, I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do. And he will even do greater works than these, because I am going to the Father. And whatever you ask in my name, I will do to glorify the Father and the Son. John 14. Absolutely, folks. We have that power. We just used Jesus' name. He has given that to us. We are all responsible for our health and choices. A few patients today, I had some of these tough discussions. And one gentleman, he's just not ready to receive the Lord again. He did know the Lord, and I asked him, are you ready to go back to the Lord? What you're doing right now isn't working. And so he'll take you back at any time. And so he just wasn't ready for prayer. He wasn't ready to acknowledge the healing power of God. And he wasn't willing to take responsibility for his health and his choices. You must know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit, the Spirit you have received from God. You are not your own. You've been purchased at a price. So glorify God in your body. And then all life and healing come from God. For I am the Lord who heals you, out of Exodus. Okay. And so remember those objectives. So we talked already about how God's moving big time in Alaska and bringing this beautiful medical school, and we're going to execute that plan for him. It's just a wonderful time in the world's history. And here's just a reminder about some of the symbols of Alaska that we've discussed. It was a state formed in January of 1959. It's the 49th out of the 50th state. Has all kind of wildlife, beautiful scenery, lakes, rivers, fjords, and glaciers. It's immense state, and the beautiful Alaskan flag, the great seal, the willow ptarmigan is the state bird, the Alaskan malamute. with the Iditarod and the dog mushing. The dog mushing is the state sport. King salmon, a state fish. The alpine forget-me-nots, the flower. The Sitka spruce is the tree. The jade, the gem. Gold is the mineral. Moose is the animal. And the SS Nenana is an historic paddle wheel ship. Okay, so just a little reminder of all that beautiful symbols of Alaska. And the second part of our trip was down in the south central portion on the Kenai Peninsula. Just gorgeous. And that picture there shows you Seward, Alaska. And I was there with my son. And initially the Iditarod started in Seward and went up to Anchorage to Nome, but now it's in Anchorage to Nome. So what a beautiful sign welcoming us to Alaska's Kenai Peninsula. And the Kenai comes from a native Athabascan Alaskan word, Kenatsi, Indian tribe. And so that's a beautiful place there in Alaska, being able to enjoy that with my son and just see the background of the beautiful bay there out of Seward, Alaska. And here is Michael's Restaurant in Soldotna. And I was there a few years ago with my wife, Pam, and we had the very same waitress. And I remembered her because she was very friendly and just had a warm personality. And here we're enjoying some halibut and scallops and just a wonderful meal. And, you know, when you're in Alaska in the summertime, seafood's the way to go. And so after that, we traveled down to Homer. And this is the homestead that we stayed at and new friends that we met. And Rob's homestead he's been there for 40 years. He lives off the land predominantly and subsistence type living. And we'll talk about what that entails. And so you're going to see a couple moose on the property. Well, there's one moose in this picture opposite the chickens. You can just see a brown body in the center of the picture. And this moose was a cow moose, a female moose, and she had two calves that you can't see in that picture. But this was only 50 yards from his house. And as a homesteader, he does raise chickens and look at the garden, the greenhouse that he has with beans and lettuce and cucumbers and tomatoes and kale and you'll see pictures of his turkey and chickens and pheasants and rabbits. And then he's got salmon, halibut, and moose in the freezer from hunting. So that's all truly subsistence living, folks. And you can just see, you know, with all these pictures and all the things that I just mentioned, that he does live off the land. And as a hunting guide and as a hunter and a fisherman, he's also has done some taxidermy work, which is kind of like stuffed animals, right? He mounts the different heads and the different bodies of these fish and animals, and there's many of those in his house. And he called it the Critterman's Museum, being a critter, you know, animals being critters. That's kind of the joke there in that. And so we went out and did some deep sea fishing. The seas were kind of rough, you can see that, but we did pretty well. We caught lots of halibut, rockfish, salmon, and there were 6 of us on board the ship. And my son and myself in the picture, and then in the middle that was G2 or G3. I'm sorry, I'm G2. And he caught the biggest halibut, about 40 pounders, and our wonderful friend Tim holding up to 2 silver salmon, and Tim's heart is as big as his smile. He's just a wonderful man. And so what a nice trip out there on the seas in Kachemak Bay in Homer, Alaska. And this is George 1. It reminds me of my father, just a wonderful guy. That's a famous saloon there on the Spit. The Spit is a 4.5 mile long, narrow finger of land jutting out into the Kachemak Bay in Homer. And you can see these many restaurants and shops in the picture next to that. And it's also serves as a boat harbor for up to 1,500 commercial and pleasure boats at its summer peak. And that's where we went out of this harbor. We went and did our fishing. So we had a nice 3 to 4 day trip down to Homer and some fishing and some relaxing and time out on my friend Rob's homestead. And this is what's our transportation from Homer back to Anchorage. Now you can take it by vehicle, and it's about 5.5 hours, or you can hop in a little plane and it'll take you about 45 minutes. And so we decided to do the plane thing because of time, and it was a wise decision. And so that was kind of fun to get on that little plane and head on up to Anchorage. And so one of our first stops after arriving at Anchorage and borrowing my friend Jim and Sharon's vehicle, my son and I, we traveled up to the Palmer area to the Iditarod Trail Museum. And this was founded in 1973, the Iditarod, which is a dog mushing event from Anchorage up to Nome. And I'll share a little bit more information about that. And that starts in the first weekend in March, and it's quite an event for the state of Alaska. It's 938 miles. It's usually covered anywhere from 8 to 15 days. Mitch Seaver set the fastest record in 2017, 8 days, 3 hours, 40 minutes, 13 seconds. As you can imagine, March in Alaska, you never know what kind of weather you're going to get. So that's why it could be as fast as 8 days or as long as 15 because of the weather. And so quite the event, almost 1,000 miles. And this is what it looks like. You've got a bunch of dogs, up to 14 dogs. 5 must be on the tow line at the finish to qualify. So you can't just cross the line with a few dogs. It has to be at least 5. And so there's G2, myself, G3, my son, and Rainey Reddington, who's the son of the founder, Joe Reddington Sr. of the Iditarod. And there's a picture of Joe Reddington and one of his dogs, as a statue and a memorial for this wonderful event. And so that was a beautiful way to get going and traveling up to Denali, and we did some more hiking along the way and found some beautiful, beautiful places to hike. And look at this Devil's Club, which is also known as Alaska ginseng. Found along streams typically, lots of medicinal use in the bark. The berries are edible. The bears and the elk and the moose really like the berries. Apparently, and we didn't try them, they're not very tasty, but they are edible. And there's a lot of spiny daggers underneath these leaves. And so when the leaves are young before they mature, a lot of that can be eaten. But once everything matures, it's just kind of difficult because of the spiny daggers. But they say the berries are like candy for the bears. We didn't see any bears. And so this is kind of where they're found, along river beds and trails and things along those lines. It's great anti-inflammatory effects, immune system boost, anti-cancer, helps lower blood sugar, and improve our memory. And so here's just pictures of the hiking trail along Longs Lake Loop. And you can see we had a little bit of an overcast day, but you get those days in Alaska. You just put on a raincoat and you go. And it's usually just a drizzle, if anything. But a beautiful, beautiful loop around the lake. And getting into more medicinal plants. The prickly rose, which is high in vitamins A and B3, C, E, and the minerals zinc, iron, and calcium. And this was ubiquitous. It was everywhere. And so the rose hips are the round portion of the rose flower. The flowers aren't out yet, but you can just see that round portion. Just imagine where the petals would be. And dried, that's what contains the seeds of the rose plant. So that's what they call that rose hip. So it's edible. You can. Kai says she has some in an oil that she has at her home now. You can do it in teas, and so very medicinal. And this is creeping or bunchberry dogwood. The leaves and stems are used as pain relievers, cough suppressants, reduce fever, and diluted, you can make an eye wash to clean out an eye infection. The purple cone flower, we have these in the great state of South Dakota. That's echinacea. And we all know the power of echinacea to treat our viruses, our colds, our flus. High in antioxidants, boosts our immune system, prevents infections, and can treat infections, as well as lower blood sugars. And this is Arctic rattlebox. It's used for coughs, congestion, and as a diuretic. You can see it's the yellow flowered plant, and you can see some yarrow, which is the white down in the lower portion, as well. And we've talked about yarrow before and how powerful it is as an anti-inflammatory and against infection. And so here's a beautiful area, hiking trails around Palmer, Alaska, which is about 40 miles north of Anchorage. It doubles in the wintertime as cross-country skiing, and they have lighted areas to kind of ward off all that darkness. You know, folks, December 21st, which is this winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year, 5.5 hours of sunlight in Anchorage. Barrow, which is in the northern part of Alaska, at that time of the year, there's 67 days of no sun in the winter. And then conversely, 80 days of no darkness in the summer. And so it could be probably a pretty long couple of months up there in Barrow without seeing the sun. I don't know how well I'd do with that. Here's some more pictures of the beautiful trails and see where we're on. And on the picture to the left, white pine, and its needles, its bark, sap, and nuts are rich in vitamin C, used for coughs, colds, and salves for our wounds. Pineapple weed. Pineapple weed is used topically because it does have, when you break it open, it has a little bit of like a ointment to it, like a little white film, and you can use that on your skin, insect bites. You can use it as a poultice, can dry it, and put it on an area that has a wound or infected. Also used internally for parasitic infections, aids in digestion, stimulates our immune system, and also aids in getting a good night's sleep. And this is a beautiful plant. This purple plant here is the calvetch in the bottom. And in this picture, you can see that purple lavender calvetch with fireweed, which is very medicinal. It's everywhere in Alaska. And in the bottom, you see some yarrow. And so more on that calvetch. It's everywhere, and it's an antiseptic. It can be as a poultice again. You can put it on a wound or inflammation and put a wrapping over it. Add a little raw honey. It helps keep everything there and sticky, and then cover it up. And that will help with inflammation and pain. If the animals, the cows and the horses, eat too much of this because it's high in protein, it causes colic or abdominal pain. And sometimes it causes gastric torsions, which isn't a good thing and can kill the animal. And so you have to be very careful if there's a lot of this in pastures with livestock. And this is called serviceberry. It's full of vitamin A and C. It's a great antioxidant, good for vitamin K for clotting, high in vitamin E for sexual and skin health, B vitamins for good mood and vitality. And so it reminds me of kind of a purplish blueberry. It tastes actually a little sweeter, I think, than a blueberry, and they're very, very tasty. As my son will tell you, he's got a handful of them there, and we found some along the trail, and I had my phone with the app for identifying these, and we found out that this was a serviceberry. It was edible, and now I found them back in South Dakota. So it took me to go to Alaska to find these back in South Dakota. And so they're also high in iron for blood, calcium for our bones, good fiber, and they're also good for our colon, promoting those wonderful probiotic bacteria in our gut, high in magnesium, manganese, for enzyme production in our immune system. And so we found some of these around the Warrior Bridge on that beautiful hike. So not everything is edible. And some of these plants are toxic out there. And so you have to really know what you're looking at, and getting apps and using books and the internet and talking to herbalists and people that do this for a living is a wise thing to do. So we found some of these amanita mushrooms or fungus, and these are highly toxic. And if you ingest these, it could kill you. And these cause 95% of fatalities from mushroom poisoning. They're beautiful looking, but don't let that persuade you. You know, if you don't know, especially mushrooms, they can be very, very dangerous. Here's the cabin we stayed en route to Hatcher's Pass, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple slides. But just beautiful views outside this cabin, and it was just a wonderful time spending with my son over those 10 days. Hatcher's Pass, 3,886 feet above sea level. It's in the Talkeetna Mountains between Palmer and Willow, and you can see the pass road here to us. And it was a little windy and a little rainy that day, but it didn't dampen our spirits. Look at those smiles, right? When I see you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. And there's father and son at the top of that pass. Just a beautiful day, and we were just blessed. A nice picture of a memorial for Robert Hatcher, a prospector and miner. After. And so, hey, if you see a smile like that, you got to stop there and tell Talkeetna and at least take a picture of it. And so when I see you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while. You are amazing, just the way you are. Yeah! And so, indeed, folks, indeed. And so that was on our way to Denali. That was the last few days of our trip. And being there was wonderful. First time for my son. This is my second time being there, but just a gorgeous opportunity just to see some beautiful country. This is Horseshoe Lake, trails along the Horseshoe Lake, and we'll show you some more beautiful vistas and breathtaking views of the trees and the mountains and just the beautiful clouds and scenery, huh? And look at the busy beavers. Look at all the beaver dams in this picture and how hard they work. And boy, it's like my team, Kai and I, and they're like busy beavers, always getting things done. And you know, that's a great compliment, ladies. This is my son just contemplating a little life over there at Horseshoe Lake, and you know, what a great father-son event. This was our bus tour. We were on this bus 8 hours, not straight. We'd have frequent stops and get off. And we had a wonderful tour guide. He had been doing it for 40 years, and he showed us all the beautiful areas, and it's just a wealth of knowledge. And the braided rivers, glaciers that were formed by glaciers. We saw a sow grizzly bear, and a cub in the distance, moose, caribou, bighorn sheep. And just look at this, the braided rivers formed by the glaciers, you know, it looks like braids and hair, right? And the glaciers formed these thousands of years ago, and, you know, the water just isn't going to fill up all these different braids. And so that's why it looks that way. And just didn't have the opportunity to see Mount Denali, which is 21,310 feet, highest in North America. Only about 30% of people get to see it because of the clouds, as you can see, and the weather. On a clear day, you can see Denali from Anchorage, which is 240 miles away. Pretty amazing. So you look at how beautiful. This is Denali out there behind the clouds, this big picture. You just can't see the top because of the clouds. And you can see a little black dot in the top small picture there, and on the right side of the picture, and then had a little cub there as well. So beautiful, beautiful scenery, lots of wildlife, the ptarmigan, the state bird. And remember, these turn white in the winter. And this is one of the things we saw on our 8-mile hike in Denali at the Savage River Trail. And on that Savage River Trail, and you can see the river down below, the braided river. And in the top of the picture, you can see the road going through Denali. And we were on that earlier for the bus tour. So we took this hike after the bus tour just to stretch our legs. And here's the path we went on, about 8 miles. It was good. It was good for us. And the bottom picture is a bull moose kind of rubbing the bark off the tree there, you know. And so after an 8-mile walk, you can imagine we had a bit of an appetite. And so we went to Moose AKA's. And this was a beautiful Serbian restaurant, very kind people, very good food, and we had a great meal and filled up those bellies after a nice long hike. This was our last hike of the trip, folks. After breakfast, look at all these nests of pines and branches and stuff in the trees. They're just kind of neat to see that. And I'll show you the next picture you have. Maybe I don't maybe I don't have that. So there's tumors growing in some of the trees that you could see, and maybe it's in a picture to come. And so then, all good things must come to an end. And on our way back to Anchorage, which is, like I said, about 240 miles, we stopped at McKinley Creekside and had a wonderful lunch. Look at those beautiful flowers. The owners of this were from South Dakota originally, so that was pretty cool. Here's my big hearty brunch that I had with potatoes and peppers and eggs and some caribou sausage. So that was a nice treat. On our way back, we had to stop at the Alaska Veterans Memorial. We dedicate this quiet place in remembrance of the veterans of Alaska who have served their country at home and throughout the world. We honor their heroism and dedication. Folks, this was a beautiful way, a beautiful climax to the end of our trip, which was all for the glory of God. It brought that good energy to bring the Indigenous and Veterans College of Osteopathic Medicine to Alaska. And why? Again, all for the glory of God. So we've started that ball in motion and building that capacity. And here's some more pictures of that memorial with a Medal of Honor loop there. And blessed to have my son G3 one-on-one for 10 days, a fine young man. And he's there stoking the fire there and at Jim and Sharon's deck, as we were getting ready to fly out in a few hours there. Wonderful dinner with our friends Jim and Sharon overlooking the Cook Inlet in Anchorage. And it was just a wonderful time there. Great energy and capacity to execute what God has already anointed. And here we are again, thanking Jim and Sharon and ending my trip as I began with my good friends and their wonderful hospitality. It was just beautiful. And we brought home some fish. We brought home some salmon and some halibut. You can see 50 pounds each, my son and I, and added that to the top picture there of some buffalo we have and some berries and some soups. And so that's G2's, Dr. George's subsistence living, right? The hunter-fisherman, the hunter-gatherer that he is. Folks, we found love all through Alaska. And that's the answer. If you want to change the world, lead with love. The power of love is God. And so all you need is love. God bless this trip. Yes, indeed, the best is yet to come. And all you need is love. And so, folks, we thank you for your time. And just wanted to show that and recapture all that beautiful energy and give you some medicinal uses of some of the plants and how powerful they are. And, we hit all the pillars in this trip. We drank a lot of the water. We ate good food. We got our exercise in daily. We got a good sleep. And we're putting God first and giving him all the glory. And so it's a win-win trip. And so we're glad you're on this wellness journey with us. So now I'm going to turn this over to my kind and talented colleague, Kai, and she's going to lead us through the rest of the presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. George, for everything that you have shared, all those very beautiful places, a lot of medicinal plants, and indeed, it's very apparent, it's very obvious that you and G3 really enjoyed your trip, while at the same time, enjoying as well the 5 pillars of wellness. And I hope that you'll also be excited for a new topic next week, which is inspired from the book Cured. And with this book, we'll learn, or Dr. George will share with us natural cures for cancer, other diseases such as diabetes, Alzheimer's, and more. So I hope that you will stay tuned and wait for that video as we upload it on the 29th of September, 7 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. All right, and also please do not forget to follow us on our different social media platforms. We have Facebook at Dr. George A. Also on Instagram, it's at Dr.George A. You can also find us in Pinterest and of course in YouTube, where we always upload our videos. So also, for daily devotions, for free handouts, and other resources to help you live fully alive in mind, body, and spirit. We have prepared all those for your wellness journey at drgeorge.com. Let me repeat, that's drgeorge.com. All right, so that ends our topic for about Alaska, the last frontier. And thank you so much for spending your time with us as watching this video. And the team Love God would also want to send their gratitude.
Indeed, folks, God is moving big in Alaska. And thank you for the privilege of time, and God bless you.
Thank you everyone for giving us the opportunity to show, share, and be love. And please don't forget to subscribe on our YouTube channel to keep you updated.
Yes,
Good
thank you
night,
again.
everybody.
Yes, good night.
Be
and
well.
Have a
God bless
good
you
day.
all.
Have a good day
Yes.
for the others. Yeah. Thank you and bye.